Hi YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and this is Outsiders, and I'm replying actually as a video response to Woodward, who I generally actually like his videos a great deal, but it's very interesting actually because on this one video I massively disagree, and I think it's good to have disagreements of opinion, and I'm going to talk about the bag of holding in a positive light. Anticlimactic, an item that almost was described as a bit of a game breaker, a breaker down of games. Whoa, hang on guys. I think you might be missing something here. I think that's a really great item. There are so many ways that that item can be, well, let's put it this way. There are many occasions that players would regret carrying a bag of holding for so many reasons. The first thing you mustn't forget about with a bag of holding is, of course, there are drawbacks. First of all, it is a leather bag, and by its very definition, a leather bag can only be opened so far. It's a referee's call. I normally say probably 18 inches, 2 feet. Now, if it's only 2 feet wide, it's pretty difficult to actually, as you say, go into a dragon's den and start scooping the treasure into the bag. Yeah. Plus, of course, you have to actually work out the dimensions. Plus, you have to remember something else as well, which is really, really important, that if the bag internally becomes damaged, then anybody within 10 feet of the bag is actually sucked off into the astral plane. I'd say goodbye characters. So people that carry bags of holding have to be fully aware of the detriments to it. But there are so many positives as well, because the other thing about the bag of holding that really lends itself to excellent roleplay and some fun, we've had some fantastic times with the bag of holding, is that you could add a bottle of air and a character could climb into a bag of holding, assuming they were small enough and weren't heavily armoured up and wearing weapons, and then potentially the magic uses a dim door into a location, carrying one of those people or several characters could be sharing the bottle and help them out of the bag. But it takes 1 round for every character helped out, and that may be 1 round too many. And also as well, you have to remember that if the enemy are seeing the players take stuff out of a bag of holding, they could target it if they chose to do so, and then that could also be goodbye party. So I think there is a definite counter-argument against the bag of holding. Personally speaking, I've never had a problem with them. To be perfectly honest with you, I find them excellent. I think they're very useful. I think you run into more problems once you start looking at the weight restrictions for character stats, because without some items for carrying things, you do end up with lots of problems. Let me try and give you a slightly different perspective, but of a similar problem. There are a number of quivers in the game that allow you to, you know, carry arrows, etc., and different bits and bobs, or different items that have extra-dimensional spaces. What's the problem with that? If you didn't have them, you'd have characters that would run out of arrows. I mean, there are bow specialists in Pathfinder that would really have problems. I mean, these characters are meant to stand off the page. So without getting too far into this, I think, you know, you've got to look at it in perspective. Bag of holding, one of my favourite items, actually. I don't see a real big problem with it. If the party want to use them, by all means, go ahead. I see no issue with it. Naturally, of course, there are always repercussions for actions. So be very careful what you do and how you go about doing things. So that's the most important thing with the bag of holding. There is always, it's so beautifully written. It's not as straightforward as just scooping stuff into a bag. You really have to understand all the space, the dimension, everything else. It's not as simple as that. You can't afford to just have loose coin rumbling around internally in a cloth bag. Because, to be honest, that amount of loose coin in an extra dimensional space may just damage the side. You're absolutely right, Paige. And so what you're left with is a dishevelled and mashed up party. So I think the bag of holding is a good item. It's certainly not one that I would worry about. Personally, I like using them. So just thought I'd give you an alternative view to it. Very interesting video though. I think we should do some more of that actually. Differences of opinion are very important within this hobby because it's great for people to see both sides. Woodward, great video though. Thanks very much for your time. Bye bye.